Our lead story at the hour, EFF leader Julius Malema is to face a private prosecution by lobby group AfriForum for alleged corruption. It relates to an engineering contract awarded to On Point, a Limpopo-based company believed to have links with Malema's family.
We are planning to prosecute Mr. Julius Malema on charges of corruption and fraud. But Advocate Nell will be able to give you all the detail in that regard. All I can say, if somebody portrays themselves as somebody that's fighting for the poor, when such a person, like in the case of Mr. Malema, goes ahead and steals state money or taxpayers' money that should benefit the poor, we believe such a person should be held accountable, and that is why we are going ahead with this case.
I would like to discuss the detail about the matter that's commonly referred to as the On Point matter. A very interesting aspect that very few people know is that Mr. Kriel, sitting next to me, is in fact a complainant in that particular matter. Mr. Kriel laid a charge on the 24th of July 2011 that led to the later prosecution of Mr. Malema and his co-accused. A prosecutor was assigned to the matter and drafted the indictment. Now, the indictment consists of the following charges. There were 2 racketeering charges, 5 corruption charges, 4 fraud charges, and 40 counts of the contravention of Section 6A, B, and C of the Prevention of the Organised Crime Act. Now, this particular matter, after the accused appeared, was struck off the roll on the 4th of August 2015 because one of the accused, Mr. Dichabe, was ill and he could not stand trial. The understanding at the time, like with all these kind of matters where it struck off the roll because somebody cannot stand trial, was that the NPA would monitor the matter and ensure that the matter is enrolled again. What we did is we only did a superficial search of information that's currently in the public domain, and that portrayed what appears to be a healthy Mr. Dichabe, having recovered fully from his illness. Social media photographs depict active social gatherings, family holidays, business transactions, purchase of high-powered, expensive sports cars, participation in cycling events, and remarkably, Mr. Dichabe chose to depict a picture of him and President Ramaphosa as his current, as we speak, picture on Twitter, profile picture on Twitter. So what we did is, on the 19th of March, we submitted a written inquiry to establish if and when the NPA intend to re-enroll the matter. We shared with them information we received, and that is that the matter was taken away from the prosecutor that was assigned to the matter, and it was handed over to the Priority Crimes Litigation Unit. Mr. Pretorius responded to us. Mr. Pretorius indicated that the NPA would indicate on or before August 2018 whether or not the PCLU and or the NPA would prosecute. The letter would form part of your pack, and I would just like to read paragraph 4. Paragraph 4, Mr. Pistorius indicated the PCLU is presently considering the matter with a view to decide whether or not to reinstitute charges. Now, we also asked the question from the NPA of why it was referred to the PCLU, the Priority Crimes Litigation Unit, and Mr. Pretorius responded saying that the National Director has a discretion to allocate cases to the PCLU. He also implied that the complexity of the matter and the fact that it has both elements of organized crime and commercial crime caused the National Director to transfer the matter to the PCLU.
Earlier I spoke to legal expert Arik Roo about AfriForum's plans and the process of private prosecution.
The declination to prosecute certificate has formally been issued by the National Prosecuting Authority. The AfriForum would be at liberty to draft summons, and for that summons to be issued out of the specific court which enjoys jurisdiction. I think in this instance it is the High Court in Polokwane, and for that summons then to be served on the accused person, who in this instance will be Julius Malema. They must indicate that they have a vested interest in the matter, and then it could also be required of them to pay security with the clerk of the court in order to proceed with the prosecution. The accused person, Julius Malema, would also be at liberty to request them to pay security for costs. In other words, any legal costs which he could incur as a result of this prosecution should security should be provided for those costs, failing which he could refuse to attend to the prosecution. So a lot of procedural requirements, but as I said, the most important, and before anything can proceed, is that the National Prosecuting Authority must formally confirm that they have declined to prosecute Julius Malema, and then a private prosecution could be an option.
Upon that decline from the NPA, what does the law say when the NPA has decided not to pursue a case and then a private organization then goes after the alleged suspect in any way?
Well, the NPA is governed by the National Prosecuting Authority Act, and that act states that they can only prosecute a person if there's a reasonable foreseeability of a successful prosecution. They are required to prosecute without fear or favor, and no bias or unobjectivity can come into play when they decide to prosecute a person. So on the day that they decide not to prosecute a person, they, so to say, they open the playing field for a private person with a vested interest, who, if they feel that there isn't a reasonable foreseeability of this person being found guilty, to then prosecute them. But the same clauses in terms of the penal code are applicable. So in other words, if a person is convicted by a court subsequent to a private prosecution having been instituted, he will still face the same possible sentencing as would have been the case if the NPA had prosecuted him. There is no civil liability on behalf of the NPA, though. So in other words, if they decline to prosecute a person, but a private person prosecuted that person and was successful in their prosecution, other than a little bit of egg on the NPA's face, there's no other legal implication.
Well, North